welcome back to the SBP Podcast Mobile Filmmaking. This is Susie Botello. I'm your host, and you're listening to episode 164. Hey, it's October 31st, and it's Halloween. We have a great show for you with the Fade Into Film panelists. We have Levi Austin Morris, who's back, Joey Min, and Jason Rivera. Ryan is still out doing, well, actually, he's not shooting right now. He's actually in a film festival presenting his film, representing, I should say. Hey, we've got a fun show. We really do. We're going to be talking about lighting and shadows in your mobile films and how they can actually work for you if you're making horror or freaky, scary films. And we're also going to be talking about, scary music because Jason's here. So we're going to tap into him about scary music and music as sound effects. I have a really interesting question to ask him about that as well. Something I noticed in films, and maybe you've noticed too. But we'll talk about that in the show. And we're going to share some scary stories of our own, if any of us have any. I do happen to have one, and I'll do my best to make it freaky. But I will only state the facts as they happen. I will not share, I'm not going to make it sensational without the facts. How's that? Anyways, it's going to be fun. And we're just totally in the mood. I'm really happy that the schedule for the show happens to fall today on Halloween. So we've been plotting this show for you since 1962. Just kidding. Not that long ago, but just a couple of episodes ago, we were thinking about doing something a little special. Speaking of special, one of our friends in New Zealand, Film Convert, has been our sponsor for the film festival here in San Diego, the International Mobile Film Festival, since 2017. So they're going to be sponsoring in 2024, and we wanted to give them a big shout out and thank them publicly for being a sponsor continuously since 2017. Go to filmconvert.com and find out a lot of information about them. They're giving the power back to the filmmaker. They run a couple of different big software brands, Nitrate and Cinematch. They have to do with color grading and film grain. Go to their website, filmconvert.com. and get all the details. You can actually download their software right now. They have free trials. And also Zacuto. They are our newest sponsor, brand new for 2024. They're based in Chicago, Illinois. And they invent, design, and assemble high-quality film production gear. One of the things that they've made, which I literally just got my hands on and took out for a spin last weekend, and it's a game changer. It's the Smart Z Finder. Episode 163, the one right before this one, is actually a really inspiring conversation that I had with Steve Weiss, who's one of the founders and also one of the designers for their products there at Zacuto. He's a film director and a producer, and you should listen to that and get to know Zacuto more, and go take a look at that Smart Z Finder. Seriously, game-changing. Anyways, check him out at zacuto.com. Now listen, we're going to get started with the show. You're going to hear our famous Fade Into Film song, and then I want you to listen closely to what you're going to hear.
We are Fade Into Film.
Hey, guys, what do you think of that music?
I mean, it was fun. It's super spooky.
It's spooky.
Spooky.
Spoopy?
Yeah.
Spooky? Yeah, can you believe I did that
creepy.
on GarageBand?
That's
Well
awesome.
done.
Yeah.
And I did some of those sound effects myself with my own vocal cords.
Ooh.
Some
Very
of those
cool.
growls. And
Yes.
then I
Wow.
twisted them around and added some effects.
I love
But
that.
it kind of sets the mood for Halloween.
Ooh.
You do that pretty well.
Sorry, it's my favorite holiday.
Yeah.
So
It's I've yet to meet filmmakers, I'm sure they're out there, who don't like Halloween.
I thought you were gonna say I've yet to meet a gay who doesn't like Halloween.
Oh my.
I was like, you're right,
Is that
Susie.
really a thing too?
Oh yeah, the gays love Halloween.
Oh, yeah, I love Halloween. I just love Halloween. Halloween is like a production in the making, and it's like the whole the whole neighborhood is in on it.
Yeah.
Same here.
You get to see the.
I live.
It's go ahead.
I was gonna say I live near Burbank, and there are a lot of crew people that live in
wow.
Burbank. So it is so much fun to just walk around and look at all the homes and the way like they go all out in Burbank.
So I should come over and we should go on an exploration of Burbank together.
Yeah,
I'm
That
down.
sounds
do it.
nice.
Okay.
You should go trick or treating too, because
Sorry, Joey.
they probably have awesome candy.
Oh, for sure.
they do.
Like
They
not
do.
those
That's where we
mini
usually
size
take my daughter.
Snickers and stuff. Like when they hand out Snickers, for me, I just think like they're the bomb. But when they hand out the full size Snickers, it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh my God,
Oh,
you
yeah.
care.
Okay.
Oh, to me, I'm like, oh, you've got money.
Yeah, that's, we got Snickers money.
You got Snickers money.
King size Snickers.
Yeah.
That is so funny. What do you guys? So where I live, I haven't lived anywhere that actually gives out candy. What about you guys? How do you handle Halloween?
Well, it is my favorite holiday, so I do not stay home. I love to get in costume and go out. West Hollywood used to have sort of a parade that they would shut down the streets for, and I would literally just walk the streets and look at other people in their costume, and they would look at me in my costume. But since COVID, they have stopped doing that. So the last few years, I've been sort of like kind of trying to find something new to do that I enjoy. But I still get in my costume though and venture out. Because I love people watching on Halloween. I love the costumes. I love people's creativity. So yeah.
Right.
Nice.
What about you, Joey?
I don't think I've celebrated Halloween in a while, honestly. But I do take advantage of the holiday by stocking up random props and stuff.
True, right?
That's definitely what I do.
Yeah. I love it.
No
haven't really-
extra
I don't
candy or anything.
I don't know.
You don't do any Halloween parties or anything?
No, I'm actually kind of boring. I know.
Because parties for work.
Oh, what? No.
I mean,
I would like
basically.
sleep, honestly.
No, but all your
Like-
productions are so much fun. They involve a multiple amount of people. You cook for people, all this stuff. So,
Right. Well, I was thinking about that too. I guess like the idea of still being with the same group, my same team for like more than a decade. I think we're doing something right. If we still appreciate being around with each other and like working and
That is true.
The only thing you're doing wrong is that you're not celebrating Halloween. But yes.
I have Yeah, I am. I should go out there. Maybe next year is the year.
Come to LA. I'll show you a good time.
I'd love to.
I'm going to share with everyone just so that you all know. Obviously, it's Halloween.
Yeah.
And this episode of our podcast is out on Halloween. So you might be listening to this early in the morning to get you in the mood. Like those old morning radio shows or something. I shouldn't say old. Do they still do things like that?
Radio shows?
Well, podcasts are kind of that,
That's
well,
true.
podcasts are different though, because they're more conversational. Radio shows do a lot of little.
Spooky stories and War of the Worlds and.
Oh well, those are cool.
Oh, is that not what you were talking about?
No, I was talking about like those morning shows, like hey, it's Jay and Joe, and
Oh, sure.
bunch of commercials and sound effects and weird voices and
Yeah.
hello. And then they bring in guests and they all make fun of the guest and I don't know, it's a radio thing. I mean, I studied radio,
Sure.
When I was in communications, in my, from media communications as part of my major, and I had to do radio, but it wasn't like that. Mm-hmm. It was like, I literally read the news, for our radio station. But just to let our listeners know that we're not doing that. But what we are doing though is we're going to talk about some mobile filmmaking topics which have to do with Halloween, freaky films. Levi and Jason were at our film festival, and we have a tradition of blocking out into one section the freaky films, which is what I call them. And we're going to talk about lighting and shadows. We're going to talk about why scary music and music sound effects are always part of the horror films. I think they are a real part of the story, more so than in a lot of other movies, other than action movies, when they really set the action. And then we're going to talk, Joey was saying something. Maybe we should start with Joey on that. But I'm also gonna ask us to share some personal scary stories. I know I have one.
Ooh, I've got some good ones. Yeah, I've got some good ones.
So there we go. Okay. So Joey, tell us about your experience with shooting scary films.
Right. So I tried to have made like two very short, like scary films or something like that. And it's but the thing is, it's so. I think I've said it before. I think writing horror, or just like the concept of telling a story that is like based around like that thrill of the unknown. It takes like a different type of mindset than what I do. Like being an action guy, right? Like I can't I can't really emulate the pacing and the feel. And to me, I think horror, as an action guy, I think horror is like the hardest to do, right? Like
interesting, because I think action is, but I'm a horror comedy
I've always
guy,
heard it was comedy, and it's for that same reason. It's for the timing and the pacing.
Yeah, I think certain people just have that pacing, within them. Like action comedy makes sense to me, right? But like horror itself is just even though I love like Drag Me to Hell, right? Like both the comedy and the horror, like I get that, but it's difficult, and I have like so much respect for like horror like filmmakers. Definitely,
like Levi.
Oh yeah, dude.
We all have so much respect for Levi. Levi just took home like 15 awards or something over the weekend or over the
glowing
last week.
global, yo.
Yeah. Levi's taking down the house. Like
right.
Oh yeah.
So the pacing. So did you like literally start, Joey, a film and then just in the middle of it went like, forget it?
No, like I still would I would see it through, right? Like I would really still try to do it in the best of my ability and put it together. And I made two. One I never showed anybody, but the other one I like it's on our YouTube channel. Because it's kind of like a sketch. But even that was difficult. Like and especially putting it into like a format, like a YouTube format where everyone's attention span only lasts for like 4 seconds, right? How do you build up tension that way, right?
Yeah. I would never try to make a horror film for YouTube
definitely.
just because I know that the attention span on YouTube is impossible.
Oh my God, yeah.
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 So
I mean, and not only that, the thing that I don't like about YouTube is that there are flashing lights all around the little box screen, right?
Yeah.
Trying
Like,
to
click
get
on this,
your-
click on
yeah,
that.
Click here, look
You have
there.
to go
and,
full screen.
it's like
Yeah.
it's like going to the casinos or standing in the middle of downtown Las Vegas and saying, I think
Yeah.
I'm going to concentrate on writing my screenplay right here.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
100%.
that's what I do for like certain companies that I edit for. That's my other jobs, right? I'm like, how can I make this for kids?
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, dude. Like, it's like what like the data. It's like, oh, every 1.6 seconds it should have a cut. Like, oh, fun. Like,
Wow.
like there's
Wow.
yeah.
Jesus. And see,
I think
and
I don't
like
even
that's
finish
interesting
blinking
because
in 1.6 seconds.
Yeah.
yeah, and the way that my brain works is like I want to tell the story, so I'm not thinking
Exactly.
about like the algorithm or like how your brain is responding to things on YouTube. I'm thinking about the pace of the
Exactly.
film and stuff. So that's
Because
interesting.
it's like how if you do see it, right, especially like TikTok kids, right, like they think, or I don't want to just generalize it, but a lot of people now think, or younger kids now think that filmmaking is just transitions, and they make a big thing of,
it drives me
and it's like, it's
crazy.
called a match cut. I just want to like shake some of these kids.
It drives me crazy.
And it doesn't matter what topic or whatever it is that they're filming, right? It's just how many like transitions, quote unquote, like you could.
Yeah, look at how cool my transition
Right?
is.
It's like,
Get the fuck out of here.
like good for you, kid. Like you just J-cutted like
Yeah.
2 shots together. You're fine. Like,
Yep.
but I guess then
This
again,
has
at
been
least
done
that's
for-
the start, right? But you do see how the attention span of people. That's why like horror is something that I think
So
is
jump
becoming.
cuts are cool now?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
It's like the first thing they teach you in cinematography is how awful they are, and then they're going to.
Yeah, right. But that's the thing, and I think it's just because of the new or the different techniques now that people do it on social media or like YouTube, it kind of erodes away from that style of horror where it is. How do you build tension within 1.6 seconds?
Jason, how do you score a 1.6 second song? It's like
Very
one
fast.
note.
Very fast.
How many notes does it take?
That's funny. Well, honestly, though, I mean, and sorry, Jason, like this is your territory, but like Jaws, like, we all know that.
That's
like,
all you need.
And that's like probably 1 second, like that. There's tension there, so like it is possible, but also screw this whole quick algorithm thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joey. Sorry.
Sorry to all the YouTubers. I apologize.
Also, because my movie is a very slow
But
burn.
I think
so,
the whole thing of why why someone is a YouTuber, right, is because YouTube has set that culture to be that way. So everybody who wants to go in there has to fit that culture, right, Joey? Otherwise, you're not going to get seen.
But the thing is, like when I say YouTuber, I feel like it's just a microcosm of what Hollywood was, right? Like I think was it Bill Gates that said it, or I forgot who, but like the idea that people that kind of rise up through the ranks of like Hollywood or any business is like the people that like the business people and not the creative people, right? Because they're the ones that push out, and they're the ones that make the money for the company, so they get elevated to high positions, but they forget what it's like to actually make a good product. And the people that do the R&D and actually make the product, they don't get promoted, right? So
what's
sorry. So that's what I'm just saying. I think the same thing with YouTube, right? So eventually it's like between like the old things that they used to say, like if you A/B test a video or something long enough, it becomes porn, right? Because eventually it'll come to a point where what is the most base instinct, like your like the massive audience really goes for.
Sure.
Right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think also part of it is the platform too, right? Like as a viewer, your expectations when you're on your phone or on your computer and you're just searching YouTube, like your expectations are different than when you sit down in your living room on the couch.
That is true.
And you're like, all right, I want to sit down for 2 hours and watch.
But like the older years of YouTube, I'm sure you guys have seen those. Like when people would make sketches, it wasn't like just a very short, like.
Oh, that's what I started on, was doing sketches on YouTube. So like they were kind of long form sketches, and it's just been interesting to see how, because even as I was doing that with my sketch group, it was starting to change, that it needed to be quicker. And so like we were trying to adapt to, we usually do these 5-minute sketches. Now we've got to get them down to like a minute 30, and so it just started to feel like, so we stopped doing it because it was like it wasn't fulfilling the creative part of us,
I think also because YouTube is owned by Google, which is a search engine, and so they prioritized all the entire top section of what you get now, and have been for a long time, are videos, and it kind of attracted tutorials, like, how do I change my tire? Watch a video. How do I blah, blah, blah? Everything is like, watch a video. Like, you don't even need to read anything anymore.
I honestly skip the videos and always go.
Me too.
I would much rather read something, like, so that I can digest it than watch a video.
Except for there are some things when I'm like, no, just show me the video on this. And then every 3 seconds there's a commercial. And it's like, okay, I'm done, because I don't have the patience to watch somebody go. And then you grab as I'm doing it, okay, then you grab now here's 2 commercials, not just one. And I got to wait for this while I'm holding this next thing while everything else is falling apart.
Yeah.
Then like in the middle of their own video, they're also a sponsored video.
Like what if it's cooking and you're like, okay, now you throw in the shrimp and now you do this and everything's burning.
Yes.
But
that's funny.
Yeah.
But if there are any sponsors out there, please consider sponsoring this podcast.
Yes. I agree, actually. Yeah.
Jason, let's talk a little bit about, because we just touched on this, on music. I have an interesting take on music with scary movies. Trying to keep this Halloweenish. I've noticed that the tone in scary movie music is it's either one extreme or the other. So you get very deep tones or very high pitches. Have you noticed that too? Am I right in noticing that?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's actually there's a certain frequency. I forget how many hertz it is, but it's really low, where I think it's just barely audible. It's a barely audible frequency that some people that make horror films,
like in my sound effects,
use.
You can hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this really low frequency that actually makes you feel anxious.
Yeah.
And you're not even sure why. So I think some people
like
use
a rumbling
sounds like that. They use sounds like that to just create more anxiety. But yeah, so that would be, that would be like the low range, like really low. And then of course, you have like classic Bernard Herrmann, sliding high violins, like in Psycho, which is the other extreme. Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think it does, at least, of course, like most of the time there's stuff going on within those 2 ranges of frequencies, but yeah, a lot of times you're right. A lot of times it can be very extreme in the frequency range.
And to build off of that, sorry, Jason, but having
Stop it with
done,
Jason.
I'm so sorry. I get so excited because I did a horror film. To build off of that, though, like that is something that I noticed with my own composer, where like we met up multiple times, and we worked together to. I mean, he created the music, and then I like tried to tweak it here and there. But that was something that I remember him being like, there was a moment that I'm like, ooh, I really think this moment needs to be silent. And he was like, no. You need that low tone underneath because it's building the tension. And then he pulled it out and I'm like, oh, you are right. Like,
Levi,
so it's like,
did you guys know that when you are editing a film, nowhere ever on your entire audio track should there ever be nothing in order for... Well, it's part of the, like, if you're putting your film and sending it out for Netflix or something like that, or TV or something like that, you're never allowed to have nothing. Like, with video, you can have a space here and a space there. Yeah. Like, even when I'm editing the podcast, I avoid doing that. But, you can get away with it with the podcast, But with a film, you're just not allowed to have nothing. I don't remember exactly what the details of that were, but I was reading something that was advising people on how to prepare their films for distribution to like major Hollywood streaming networks and things like that. And that stuck to me.
I didn't know that, actually.
Me neither.
Is it like syncing purposes?
Yeah. Do you
even
mean?
if you just have
like,
room tone, it doesn't matter. But you have to have something.
Yeah, I always have room tone, but like that, and that's what we had was room tone. But my composer was like, no, you need this drone, and he was right. Like when I listened to it without the drone, I'm like, there's no tension there. Like the tension is the drone. Like yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that the thing, right? Like you guys said before that people would prefer like great audio with really bad video, rather than the opposite.
No one
I've always heard
really
that.
appreciates really bad video, but if you had to choose,
like that's why I think POV sort of handheld movies are still accepted as long as their audio is still good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Levi.
Yes.
Let's talk about lighting and shadows.
Sure.
You used you did color grading on your film.
I sure did. I did.
And the lighting and the shadows. Sorry, Levi. I'm also excited. I'm trying to maintain myself by sounding very calm. Lighting and shadows plays a lot into the effects of the film and things like that, but they also can either help or enhance the color grading, right?
Oh yeah. So I mean, I think in general, specifically with shooting on an iPhone, if you're doing a horror film and you want lighting or you want shadows, you have to light a lot brighter than you would think. Like it's not actually as dark in the space as it looks on camera, and that's because even though iPhones are significantly improved from when they started, they do not handle low light situations as well as a DSLR or a Red or anything like that. So with Paralysis, like I researched an insane amount to figure out how to light a low light situation. And so even in the darkest of shots, there's a softbox that is fully pointed at the ceiling, which was a white ceiling, and it like is radiating and it's bouncing light from the ceiling. And then every shot that there's like it's a night scene, we waited until night, but we did put lights out there so that it would create sort of that moonlight effect shining through the window. And so and shadows are so important with horror films, especially like you want that, you love that eerie sort of light coming from the window. One thing that worked well for us with Paralysis was the house that she lives in, that we filmed in, the lead actress lives in, there are trees that are right outside some of the windows, and so they already are creating these really ominous lights, or these really ominous shadows. So like even during the day, like, and especially because with an iPhone, like depending on the lens we used, sometimes everything's in focus, sometimes it's not. But when everything is in focus, and you can see like the bathroom window behind her, you can see the trees swaying, and so it gives this ominous feeling of the shadows in the window, you know. And so like they're like shadows make people feel scared, you know. So it's you don't know what's lurking in the shadows, you don't know what's lurking in the dark. So it's a lot of fun to play with that. But yeah, when you are shooting on an iPhone, you have to really amp up the light. When you're, I mean, even when you're not shooting on an iPhone, when you're doing a horror film, it's way bright in there when they're shooting it, you know, on no matter what camera. And then in post is when you pull down the brightness, pull down the exposure, play with the color grading. Yeah.
And also, you know, as an actor, you know that. And you guys used this, you know, the underlighting, right? With the light under you to create, like we used to play, remember, on Halloween?
Where it's like the flashlight under your chin.
Or as Karloff lighting.
Yeah, like we used to do that and then smile and it would look freaky. But those are lighting and shadows. I mean, we are talking about video and you know, filming, right? And a long time ago, and I think Joey is probably better educated on this because you like the older movies too, probably more than me, but the black and white movies, right?
Noir,
like Alfred Hitchcock and all those stuff. The lighting, it is all light and shadows. There are no colors, and they really played into that. You know, the you were talking about the trees, right?
His shadow on the wall. Yeah, and the trees in our film,
and those branches, you know, that you know look like the witch's hands and things like that.
Yeah.
Where did I see that? What movie did I see that? That must have been like probably Snow White or something, and I'm just making it up. I have no idea. But I remember seeing the shadow on a wall of a branch, and then it turns out to be the witch's hand, you know.
I mean, we used one of my favorite shots in our movie is, I mean, I knew because I lived in that house during COVID because my lead actress was living with her family. And so she allowed me and my ex to live in her house during that time. But she had this hallway, and there's this shot that I wrote specifically because I loved that hallway. And there were like those single overhead lights. And so there were dark spots in between them. And so I wrote it to where this sort of this ghost walks through the light as one ghost, stops in the shadows, transforms into another ghost, and walks out of that shadow and is that other ghost. And it's one of my favorite shots because it all we had to do was set the camera up on a tripod, have the actress walk into the light, walk out of the light into the shadow. I'd say switch, the camera stays rolling, the actresses would switch spots, and then I'd say, you know, action, and we'd continue. And then, you know, we just adjusted that a little bit in lighting, and the shot looks incredible. Like, it's literally like she transforms from this sort of nanny character into the old hag, the sleep paralysis demon.
That's so creative.
And yeah, and it was so fun and so exciting, like, because I remember on the day everybody was nervous that it wouldn't work, and then I just quickly edited it together to show everybody, like, look at this, and everybody was like, oh my god, like, so like, yeah, it was a really cool moment where, like, it was very electrifying in the room.
The experience of a director, and that's why you have to have people trust you. You've got the vision, you know how you can make it happen. You know, and then when people realize that, they go, "Oh my god!" and they just worship you, Levi.
Yeah, it was very exciting, but that's like another fun, like playing with like the darkness in the room, you know, like
I want to talk a little bit. That hallway just reminded me about a personal Halloween spooky story. I should insert a spooky sound in this.
Yes, you
I
should.
think I will. No. But right, or maybe Jason, bring out your guitar and play something spooky.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on a second.
Oh,
Really?
Oh,
Ooh.
never know what's gonna happen on the SBP
cool.
podcast.
Yeah.
Jason is breaking out his guitar.
Okay. So I have, so far I've scored like, I think around 4 horror films.
Yes.
And at some point,
Don't give us anything that's already. Oh, okay.
no. I
Don't
just
wanna
want to
get
grab
sued.
this instrument. You're not going to get sued, I promise. Somewhere along my path, I came across this instrument. Have you heard of an auto harp?
Yes.
oh,
So it's this really old auto harp that's completely out of tune.
Ooh.
And I haven't used it on a score yet, but I'm like just waiting for the moment where it's necessary for me to use
Tonight's
it.
the night.
And it would be like it would be magical on a horror film. Just listen to it.
Oh, Jesus.
Totally.
It's completely out of tune.
Oh, no,
is
it's
amazing.
fantastic.
Like, I
Yeah.
haven't tuned it yet because I want to
That's
use it
awesome.
like as is before I tune it.
Well, when you feel it's
Anyway.
appropriate while I'm speaking, go for it.
Uh-huh. Yes.
This is a true story, and I'm going to share this with you. I've shared it before, and I was so nervous when I first shared it that it didn't really have the effect. And I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to pretend I'm not in front of a microphone. I'm going to need to close my eyes a little bit. But this is something that really happened to me. And I'm not going to try to sensationalize this too much. I'm going to entertain you with it. I hope you don't freak out because it is really, truly scary. And
Okay.
but I'm going to just tell you the facts as they happened. Okay. So I was out with a friend, and we got to my house late at night. He had the car and he was driving, and no, I had my car. I was driving. Sorry, and he came back. We came to my house, and he was gonna leave, and I said, well, you had a couple more beers. You don't feel it, but you should just stay the night and sleep on the sofa, which he had done before. And so he's like, okay, fine. So I went to bed, so there's a wall. Up against the wall is the sofa. On the other side of that wall is my room. And my door was open. And I went to bed. And as I was trying to go to sleep, I was hearing, and I thought it was him walking back and forth, up and down the hallway here and there, like walking this way, takes a minute, walks back, and then I was like, what the hell is he doing? Whatever. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to the bathroom, because you know when someone's going to the bathroom, And then one of the times I was like, why, what is this? Why am I hearing, him walking up, and what is up with him? So I get up, and he was sleeping on the floor. Like, he was supposed to be sleeping on the couch, but he had shifted to the floor. This is after this was going on a few times. And I was like, oh, that's okay. I guess, it was an old couch, so I thought maybe he was uncomfortable there. And so I went back to bed. And then I kept hearing the walking back and forth. And I was so tired by that time that I was like, I don't know what that is, but whatever. So I finally fell asleep. And when someone is sitting on the edge of your bed while you're there? So what woke me up was feeling someone pressing on my chest.
Oof.
And as I woke up and opened my eyes, I felt someone stand up off my bed.
Yikes.
And that kind of freaked me out. So I kind of let out this big gasp. And I embarrassed myself. And I realized my friend was on the other room. So I probably waited about, it felt like a long time, but it probably was only maybe a minute. I stood up because I freaked out in my room. Like, I didn't want to be in my bed anymore. So I went in, and I knew that he was sleeping on the floor. So I went and grabbed my pillow, and I slept on the couch.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah,
I get it.
right? I was like, and you're right there on the floor. And so the next morning, this was with me. And so the next morning, did you sleep okay? Why were you sleeping on the floor? Oh, well, I was more comfortable, your stupid old couch, And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, I'm glad you did, actually, because otherwise I would have woken you up. Why were you sleeping on the couch, right? Because when he woke up, I was sleeping on the couch. And I said, well, did you happen to hear me in the middle of the night kind of gasp or anything? And he said, no. He said, but I'll tell you what I did hear in the middle of the night. He said, and I freaked out and I didn't want to turn around, but I heard someone walking down the hall and stopped behind my back.
Ooh.
And it wasn't me.
Yeah.
So
do you still live in this house?
No. Here's what happened.
That's
a
good.
few days later, it was an apartment, by the way. A few days later, it was an upstairs apartment. I went downstairs and I was in the laundry room or whatever, and I was talking to the owner of the apartment. And I said, by the way, did anything ever happen, in where I'm living? That's weird. And because I've had a couple of weird experiences there, and and so I told her about the dream thing, and she said, there was an old man that lived there and had a heart attack and died in that room.
Oh my.
Damn.
So
Oof.
the hands pressing on my
chest. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah,
that's terrifying.
And I was going, if he died on this bed, like maybe there was a paramedic that came and sat next to him and was doing CPR. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think they sit down to do CPR, but
or the darker version is maybe he didn't die of a heart attack and maybe it was something creepy, like maybe something put its hands on his chest and he died and then it was
died.
Right? Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, that's scary.
That's creepy, yeah.
That's my creepy story.
That's your creepy story.
Ooh, I like it.
And
also, Jason, well done.
Yes.
Well done with the sound effects.
and the thing is,
you.
I'm not telling you I didn't tell you anything that wasn't true. But what made it really special for me, because I've had experiences here and there, the fact that my friend verified for me before I told him anything that there was somebody walking up and down the hall.
Yeah.
That's what made it super okay, now I got a witness that heard the thing I was imagining, right? He heard it. There was no way I imagined it. That was the proof.
I love it.
All right. Who's next?
Well, I have two creepy stories, but I'll make them short. So I grew up in a very small town in Minnesota, and we lived on an acre of land, and right across from our house was a forest. And so, the nearest neighbor, there was a field right next to our house, and then it was the neighbor's house. And when I was about 16, so we lived in a 3-story house. It was the basement, the main level, and then the upstairs. And most of the bedrooms were upstairs. And so when I was about 16 or 17, I remember I was in my bedroom, which was on the 3rd floor, and I got to the top of the stairs and I looked out the window and it's pitch black. And I look out the window and I see what looks like a 10-foot tall naked man walking down the road. And the only way I could see him was there was a car coming down the road and the headlights were shining on him. And he dropped to all fours and he ran into the woods. And my brain, being I'm 16 or 17, my brain is trying to rationalize this, and I'm like, was that a deer? Was that a dog? So I said to my mom, who was in her room at the top of her room was the one at the top of the stairs. I was like, is Maggie outside? Maggie was our pit bull, and because I'm trying to rationalize what I just saw. This 10-foot, well, it was a 10, yeah. And Mom said, yes, she's at the foot of the bed. Oh. And the car that was coming down the road literally stopped, reversed into my neighbor's driveway, and shined their headlights into the woods because they saw it too. And then my dad was smoking a cigarette on the front porch, and he came inside and he was like, you will not believe what I just saw. And my dad described exactly what I saw. And I swear to God, we were all like, what the hell was that? So my dad actually called the police, and he was like, I mean, backstory, my dad was a meth addict for a long time, and he was like, I used to be a drug addict, but my son saw it, a car saw it, and he stopped and he reversed into the driveway. And so, like, to this day, I have no idea what it was. And since then, my sister Brittany has also seen it.
Wait, so it lives there?
So I don't know. So, yes. And actually, I told a friend recently in LA, and she told me about something in Michigan. I think it's called the Dog Man. Like there's like, it's like a 10-foot tall or 7-foot tall dog man, and it's kind of like a werewolf, I guess, but then it drops to all fours and runs into the woods. But like, I don't know, but that's exactly what I saw.
That is freaky.
It was terrifying. And so honestly, it's interesting because I live in LA now. I am more freaked out by small town life than I am by living in a city because
absolutely.
of experiences like that. Yeah. Yeah. And then the other one, which is also very short, is my room used to be at the end of the hall. So I'm on the 3rd floor. My room is at the very end of the hall. So I'm furthest away from everything. My parents' room is at the end of is right at the top of the stairs. And then we have an acre of land. So there was a day that my mom and my sister were fighting in the dining room, which was on the main level. And I was in my bedroom, my dad was in his room, and my brother was making out with his girlfriend at the end of the driveway. So it was like, quite a distance away. And I, sitting in my bedroom, I could hear them fighting downstairs, but right next to my ear, I heard somebody shout, "Shut up." And I was like, ooh. And then my dad, I ended up leaving my room, and I was like, Dad, did you hear that? And he said yes. Wow. And he heard it right next to his ear. And then my brother came in from outside, and he was making out with his girlfriend, but he came in and he was like, did you guys hear that? And so my dad, myself, and my brother all heard the shut up, and my sister and my mom, who were fighting in the dining room, did not hear it.
Wow.
So, yeah. So those are my 2 spooky stories. But, yeah.
And they all happened at your house?
At the same house, yeah. I mean, there are other stories that are not mine. Like my sister has stories in that house because her basement was in the bedroom, and she actually does. My sister has I have 5 older siblings, and one of my sisters continuously sees entities, and she hates it. And my mom is like, I feel like they're trying to communicate with you because you have a gift, and she's like, I don't want this gift. So my sister has multiple stories of. Yeah, my sister has multiple stories, though, of waking up in her bedroom and a man sitting in her papasan chair staring at her. And so she closes her eyes. And she says he gets closer and closer to her every time she opens her eyes. Yeah, and I'm just like, nope, I'm good. So, yeah. Yeah.
All right, who's next? Joey, you got any spooky stories?
Yeah, I only have one.
Well, I mean, it's not a competition.
Yeah.
No.
but
everybody's one up in you.
This is my only scary story, right? And so it happened long time ago when, houses still had landlines and not everyone had cell phones, right?
Dude, that was like 200 years ago.
I know, right?
Just kidding.
But yeah, so when I was a kid, you always get like telemarketers always calling, right?
Yeah.
And one specific time, like in the middle of the day, telemarketer called, and I pick up the phone, and I'm like, "Hello," and like no one answered anything, right? I was like, "Hello," and then next thing you know, I heard, "Hello." I was like, "What the fuck?" Right? Then right after I heard that, my mother picked up the phone, so it's like downstairs, and she's like, "Hello," and the telemarketer's like, "Oh, hello, miss," whatever, like, and he started doing a sales pitch, and I'm like, "Okay, whatever," right? So I hang up the phone. Like later that night, though, I'm in bed, and I'm like, I'm just kind of lying there in the middle of the night, and I swear, like, I felt the breath in front of my face. I heard, "Hello."
Whoa.
Like right in front of my face, right? And it's pitch black, right? And though this is the weirdest fucking thing, it's because for some odd reason I had some sort of like bravado or something, and I'm like, "Not now, ghost. I need to fucking sleep." And I turned the other way, and I slept. But when I woke up the next morning, dude, I was fucking shivering. I was like, "What the fuck? Why would I do that?" Right?
Yeah.
But that's my only the only creepy thing that's ever happened to me.
Ballsy fucking kid. Well, you made the choice right then. Like, the ghost was trying to see if you would be willing to be a communicator, and you were like, "Nope, fuck you."
I remember that. I was like, "Why the fuck would I say that? Holy shit!" And that's it. And nothing. I've never had any creepy thing ever happen to me again. But like, I will always remember.
Well, they've been talking about you. That's why.
They're like, this guy is not willing to listen.
He does not want to be bothered by us.
That's so funny.
That's it. That's
so funny.
Only time.
I mean, it's creepy.
Yeah, that is the
though.
creepy
It's
because
creepy.
I felt the breath on my face.
Yeah.
Did it smell or anything, or?
No, it was like it's like the breath of somebody talking.
The wind.
Like, it just felt it, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
It's horrible.
Jason.
Okay, so I have a lot of them actually.
Oh God.
For
Jason
different
wins.
reasons.
Jason
How many
wins.
instruments do you
No.
have?
Yeah. And they're all haunted.
I have a lot of them because for a few reasons. Well, my dad grew up in the countryside in Puerto Rico in the 40s. So you can kind of just like extrapolate.
Wait,
How old is your dad?
My dad is 80.
Wow.
jeez.
And in great health.
I mean, people do
I know.
get old.
I'm just
you're
like,
lucky,
because Jason and I are very similar age, I think, aren't we?
Yeah, but Jason's
No,
got older brothers, right?
Yeah, well, so anyway, that's kind of like the background, right? But then also,
Don't they
like,
have Santeria in Puerto Rico?
Yes, and some of the stories involve that.
I studied it.
Cool.
I studied it because of drumming.
Very
I was
cool.
very attracted to drumming.
That is very cool. Yeah, there's Afro-Cuban drumming also is very hooked up into it's Santeria as well. But the story I was going to tell doesn't have to do with any of that per se.
Sorry.
It's more, I was just giving a little background. Like my dad has really great ones about his dad in Puerto Rico, but a more current one, or current-ish, is the house that I grew up in New Jersey was a really old house. I don't know the exact date of when it was built, but I'm thinking probably 30s or 40s. And at that time, when often people would pass away in the home, that was common in those days. And if there was a wake, that would have also been done in the home as well. So, and on the East Coast, I haven't encountered it so much here in California, but like every house you go in has a basement.
Yeah.
And the one I grew up in for sure had a vibe. But anyway, so in that house, my mom was pregnant with my oldest brother in the late 60s. And she was pregnant and fine and healthy. But then they had just moved into the house that I grew up in. My parents had just moved in. And my mom started having these weird nightmares where there was a really tall man all dressed in white knocking on the front door of the house. And it was like recurring and recurring. And then as the dreams kept going on, this being entered the house until finally, as the dreams kept going on, he was in my parents' bedroom. Yeah. And meanwhile,
and she's pregnant, right?
Wait, this
she's
is in the
pregnant
dream?
and her health. No. She's pregnant in real life with my oldest brother.
The guy that was in her room?
Yeah. Sorry. So yes, this being all dressed in white is like getting closer, walking through the house as the dreams are recurring every night, until finally he's in my parents' bedroom. And meanwhile, my mom's health is starting to deteriorate. She's like sick all the time and losing weight. Like all this, like being sick when you're pregnant is pretty common, but it's certainly not good to be losing weight, you know? So my parents are kind of freaked out. You know, she's sharing these dreams with my dad. So finally they decide, you know, I grew up Catholic. So my parents just decide, you know what, we're going to have a priest come in and just bless this house. You know, we just bought this house. Yeah.
Just bought this everything happens.
Well, no, thankfully in this case. They had a priest come in and he walked through this home and blessed the house. And after he did that, my mom's dreams stopped.
Wow.
And her health started to improve. Whoa. Just from that simple thing. Yeah.
Honestly, that's a great start to a horror film. That is a great start to a horror film.
Yeah, that's like the whole demon thing.
Yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, it's creepy.
It's very creepy.
Give us another.
Okay, I'll give you one more.
Because he doesn't want to win the competition, so he's...
So, you know, growing up, well, my dad growing up in Puerto Rico in the sticks, basically, his dad was an interesting character. He was a moonshine maker and a musician. And it truly, yeah.
That's actually white lightning, is what they call it in Georgia.
Yeah. Nice. I've never had it.
I've tasted it.
So yeah, well, anyway, so my grandfather, who I'd never met, he would like often just get together with buddies and play cards at night and stuff. But being that it was in the countryside, like the houses were really spread apart from each other. So he was at one of his friend's house playing cards, you know, up late, hanging out, and how they were living and how my dad grew up, there were no cars, really. Nobody had a car. You rode a horse everywhere.
Wow.
So, you know, they're done playing. My grandpa and his pals are done playing. And so he hops on his horse to go home. And he's riding his horse. And like I said, it's the countryside. So he's like basically just riding a horse through the forest in the middle of the night by himself. And all of a sudden, like off to the side, kind of on a cliff. Well, first of all, he's riding on the horse and he starts hearing a baby crying. This is the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And so he's riding and the sound is starting to get louder and louder. And he looks up kind of off to the side on a cliff and there's a baby on the cliff, kind of like glowing. Yeah. So he starts to get, you know, kind of freaked out, and I think the horse did too.
A baby glowing so like, in the side of the cliff, like
in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Is he sitting down, or is he floating?
Well, he's on a horse.
Well, my grandpa's on the horse, riding the horse. The baby's just laying down on the cliff. Yeah, like on its back.
Wow.
And so, you know, he starts to want to go faster. And I'm imagining that the horse did too, you know, being that they're such sensitive creatures. So, you know, he's just like, all right, you know, fuck it. I need to hightail home. This is really weird. and all of a sudden he feels something slam onto the horse behind him, like something jumped onto the horse behind him and was now riding with him on the horse.
Wow.
Yeah, and he passes out. My grandpa just passed out.
Like on the horse.
On the horse, passed out, and then somehow got home. Like,
and he doesn't remember.
He doesn't remember how he even got home that night. He just remembered what he saw, what he heard, what he felt.
And what he felt, yeah.
And then, he just passed out, and like, luckily, I'm sure the horse knew where to go. And so it just kept going and took him home.
I was imagining the baby carrying the...
Oh, God. Everything about that's great.
Wow.
So, that's one of my favorites. My
Jason,
dad always told us.
We're going to do a horror movie together. It's going to be both of those stories in one film, and you're going to do the music, okay? Like,
all right.
I'm like, that's a very cool.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thanks. I'm in.
Wow.
And I'll save. I
Like,
won't
one is
tune
the
the auto
backstory.
harp.
And you won't tune the auto harp,
Until we do the film.
But I feel it. Like, I feel like one is the backstory, like the horse, the horse is the backstory, and then the main story is the couple that moved into the house.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's my dad and his family.
I have to say, Levi,
I've actually
it's the haunting that's following the family.
I have to say that the twist in the end is that the tall man in her dream was the tall man that goes in all fours and runs into the wood.
The naked man who runs into the...
And all that's left is this white robe.
And all that's left is a baby glowing on a cliff. I love that. That's funny. See? And a hello. And a whisper of hello.
Oh, God. And then she gets a call and says, hello.
God.
Yeah. And then the baby learns to walk and runs down the hall, and that's your story, Susie.
No, I'm gonna be left out of all these. So funny. I've got such a number of stories myself that I could say, because I've lived in places, but it seems like places that like locations, right? You could live there forever, and then all of a sudden you feel and notice things. Or you could just grow up somewhere and there's always things happening there. But in this apartment that I lived in that apartment building in one place for like, I think it was like maybe a year. And then I moved into this other one for like 6 months. So it's hard to tell, because people say there's always like these things that happen in around locations. But for me, I've moved around in so many different locations, that I would say it has to do with me, that I've had experiences at different places. I was staying at my mom's for about 6 months for a while, and I was not a happy person. Well, if you had to live with my mom. No, I'm just kidding. I love her to death. But I was going through some things personally, and when I was there, I mean, this is the place where I had lived there when I was a teenager. I lived there for many years. My parents had lived there for like, I don't know how many years. And I started to, I had this dream. I'll just share this one. So I had this dream that happened 3 nights in a row, and it was the exact same dream. So it kind of was weird. In the dream, I get up to go to the bathroom, and I go through, there was a room. My room it was really cool. It was like this room behind another room. And then you open the door, and it was the hallway where the bathroom was, and it had hardwood floors, right? So I would go to open, it was a very old Victorian style house, by the way. Like, it had like those Lucy Ball windows and doorknobs and things still on it. And so I went in to use the bathroom, and somebody was blocking the bathroom door from opening. And I was like, what the heck? And I was like, is that you? And I was calling out my niece who was there, during that time. And and it wasn't her. And somebody kept blocking the door. And then I was like, okay, fine. So I go back in the room, and now the bedroom door is being blocked by somebody.
Ooh.
Right? Well, I had this dream for like 3 nights in a row. And then the next night, I have the same dream, but it's like when I finally burst through that door, and there was like some sort of an old lady standing there from like, I don't know, the 1930s or something, wearing one of those long gowns.
Oh my God.
And she was so like, like what you'd see in a movie, scraggly, long gray hair, like they used to put their hair up in a bun. So whenever they didn't, it just looked freaky. And she just looked at me and just went, "Rah!" like all pissed off. And I was like, oh my God. And then I woke up. But that dream felt more real than all the other ones.
So what you're describing right now, and this is a short story, but my ex and I still live in the apartment that my ex and I lived in. It's a studio apartment, and I've lived here for like 9 years. But there was a night that he woke up, and he woke me up because he was so freaked out. And he was like, I just had the most vivid dream of this apartment. Because usually when you have a dream about your apartment, it doesn't look anything like your apartment, but in your brain, you're like, oh yeah, this is my apartment. It was 100%
mine
our apartment.
too, yeah.
And he said he got up and he went to the bathroom. And when he opened the bathroom door, similar to what you're describing, this building, by the way, was built in 1920. It's like a very old building. But he said when he opened the bathroom door, there were 2 women dressed in old sort of nurse outfits, and they were washing blood off their hands. And they turned, and I'm getting chills sharing this. They turned and they looked directly at him, and he was so freaked out, and he woke up. And like to this day, and I'm a little embarrassed admitting this, but I sleep with a nightlight on because I'm so fucking terrified, and I sage my apartment probably every 3 months because I'm so terrified.
I can tell you, Levi,
like,
me, it was like I know the difference between a dream, you know what I'm saying? Even right after you wake up, but I was confused.
Yeah, and so was my ex. He was like, "This was so vividly
like the
our
next day,
apartment."
I was like, "Did I literally experience that? Like, did that actually happen, or did I dream that? I've never done that before. I mean, maybe when I was little or something, but."
I'm convinced though that I feel like energy. I'm not a spiritual or I'm not a religious person, but I am spiritual in that I think that when we die, energy is sort of left in the space, and so I feel like like if I don't know if there were 2 nurses who maybe they didn't die here, but maybe something traumatic happened here, and their energy was left in space. I would say some trauma was involved if they were
washing blood off their hands.
Blood off their fucking hands.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Anyway, sorry, I'm cursing a lot.
Well,
during this podcast, but spooky podcast.
Exception this time, guys. Sorry, listeners. There's no kids, I'm sure, listening to this.
No.
Yeah, that's pretty scary. Pretty spooky.
Yeah.
That is definitely.
Could I add one quick thing?
Yes.
I've also had really nice visitations or visions of family members who have passed on.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's that side of it too.
Yeah. And I believe in that as well, where it's like the energy sort of like checking in sort of energy.
I've had dreams of my grandmother. I think she comes into my mind.
Were you close?
Yeah, she comes into my mind almost every day, and she died like 100 years ago, it feels like. Everything's 100 years.
Not 100. You were not 100, Susie.
Well, and I was like an adult when she died, so I'm literally 300 years old now.
You're a vampire.
Yeah, right. But I've had dreams of her where I'm telling her things, and we're just like hanging out together, and they feel really good. I wake up feeling like I spent the day with my grandmother or something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's
nice.
I've had those kind of dreams too.
It's good. It's I mean, we need that stuff. Dreams are, and then there are people who don't dream at all. And they say that people forget their dreams and that's why they don't. But there are people who literally do not dream.
What a sad
Right?
No, it's not. I mean, just
It's
some
kinda
people
sad.
just don't dream. I mean,
I love dreaming.
if you don't know what having a dream is, then that doesn't make you sad. You know.
Sure.
But for us, like if you're always, I mean, there's periods of time where you feel I dream every night. My brain is always dreaming. I'm a dreamer.
Oh yeah.
Same here.
Same. Yeah.
There are people who don't dream, but there are also, I remember having friends when I was growing up that told me they only dreamt in black and white. And to me, I was like, I mean, I was a little
Interesting.
kid and I was like, you're lying. You know, when you're a little kid, you
Yeah.
just tell your friends, you know, you're a liar, you're lying. And they're like,
Yeah.
no, I literally don't know. I don't see colors. And I'm like, do you see colors now? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, then you're lying. You see colors when you dream. I mean, but no, there are people who don't dream. And I read somewhere that it's kind of like a 50-50 thing.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Well, mine are definitely in color.
Oh
Very
yeah.
vivid.
Yeah.
So, for Halloween, what's your favorite candy?
I don't. There was a lady I
Yeah.
remember in my old neighborhood that used to give out sandwiches, and I thought that was
Wow.
the best.
Salami sandwiches?
What kind of
It
was-
sandwiches?
It was just like an Italian hoagie kind of like, you know.
What a weird thing to give out
I
on
know.
Halloween, and you enjoyed
I
it?
remember that like that house became legendary. Like, hey, we're gonna go. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Did you go to the
That
hoagie
house
house?
needs to
We're
go
not gonna
down
eat
in
all
the
day. We're just
history
gonna hit that
books,
house up.
Joey.
like she would give you like
so
half a
funny.
sandwich. I'm sure, you know, like at least. She
Oh
could
man, not even
maximize-
the whole thing, like
Yeah, but you
snack
know, it's like,
sized.
you know, it's maximizing.
Honestly, though, what a smart thing to do. Like these kids, not only are they burning calories while they're trick or treating, but like it's a healthier thing to
Well, then
give.
you,
like
you know
that's
those
I kinda
little
dig
Very
miniature
that.
generous,
bags
too,
of
actually.
little baby carrots. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
It was
somebody
awesome,
was
like-
handing those out for Halloween, but none of the kids wanted them, and the moms were
Of
like,
course they. Yeah.
"Don't take that."
I'll take them.
I don't know
Oh,
what
that's
they were
funny.
thinking,
God.
but yeah, but man, I'm
That's so funny.
like, that's funny. I did not expect you to say that someone
yeah.
was,
Hoagies. Somebody was handing out
Like, yeah,
hoagies.
I was like, that's
let's go over there
Lovely.
and trick or treat the
That's so
hoagie
funny.
house.
right.
They got
so
that
funny.
hoagie money.
They got that hoagie money. Not even the full candy bar money. They got the hoagie money.
Oh
Whole
man.
other level.
Wow,
Is
that is.
that related
yeah.
to the hag? The hoagie and
The hag with the
The
hoagie.
hag and the hoagie. Hey, that's a good.
The sleep
sounds like
paralysis.
a-
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
That's
shut
funny.
up now.
Sounds like
yeah,
a band
right.
name.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, the hag and the
but-
hoagie. Yeah.
So
dig
what's
it.
your favorite? So outside of sandwiches, like, is there a candy that any one of you guys want to voluntarily give out?
So my favorite candy is either Charleston Chew or 100 Grand. But Charleston Chew was never given out at Halloween because it's like a super old candy bar. 100 Grand were, so I enjoyed when we got that. It was
What's
rare.
a Charleston Chew
but
got?
How
I'm
dare you,
sorry,
Susie?
just tell
How
me.
dare you? It's like a chewy marshmallowy white inside and then a thin chocolate on the outside.
Oh, I think I've had something.
And
like
if you
that
stick,
before.
it's so good. And if you stick it in the freezer, it's amazing because then, and it literally says on the wrapper, "Stick me in the freezer." Because then you pull it out, and you just smack it against the counter, and it breaks into tiny pieces, and you have the best fucking snack in the world. Like, I encourage all of you
I
to
like
get
to
one.
freeze chocolate and Scores bars. The Score with the K, I think.
I don't think I've had a Scores bar.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, I
Either.
don't know what that is.
I'm gonna Google it now in case I screwed that up.
Or
Yeah, Score
When I was a little kid,
versus.
oh.
Yeah, I was right. Score.
You
Yep.
found it?
Okay.
Yeah, I used to freeze
That's new to me.
those. I had very strong teeth. But I do like putting chocolates in the fridge. There's something about chocolates in the fridge.
Yeah.
It's
Or eating
satisfying.
those
Yeah.
chocolate chips
For
from
sure.
Costco.
Oh yeah.
Put those.
Oh yeah,
in the-
Score bar. I know what
yeah.
that is. Yeah.
But I like.
Jason.
I like.
sorry.
No. Actually, Jason, what is your favorite candy?
Oh, well, when I was a little kid, I loved Nerds.
Oh,
The
yeah.
original
Yeah.
Nerds.
Oh yeah.
That was the jackpot for me.
Yeah.
I got Nerds. I also like Reese's
Yes.
Pieces.
I
Yeah.
love Reese's Pieces.
We sell those at
Yeah.
work, and I do oftentimes take a bag to enjoy or a
Nice.
box.
Good.
Yeah.
Good for you. I think now, though, I kind of mellowed out. I like just candy corn, actually.
What?
Candy
Oh,
corn,
you're like
candy
eating
corn
crayons.
pumpkins.
You're disgusting, Jason. Friendship over.
It's so good.
Although I will
Pumpkins, too.
admit,
Did
I
you
really
eat
like the
crayons
circus
when
peanuts.
you were a kid?
Not that I remember.
That's funny.
Possibly.
But now he loves that texture in his mouth.
Do you guys like it, or are you just messing with Jason? I don't really like it.
Oh, no, I do not like
What
candy
about
corn.
those ones that look like peanuts and they're orange and they're just like huge?
Yeah,
candy
the circus
corn?
peanuts. I genuinely love
No,
those.
those
but
are disgusting.
Jason. Jason, man. I thought we could be buds.
It's all right. We each have our own candy bag.
But I grew up with that because my grandpa Shasky on my mom's side, he loved circus peanuts, so we had those all the time, and they remind me of marshmallow, and I love marshmallow.
I like marshmallows when they're roasted or in hot chocolate, and that's about it. I can't handle them when they're like out of the bag. It's like, what is this? It's like cotton chalk.
I have a bag on top of my fridge, and I eat it when
Really? Aw.
Oh yeah.
Well, so
I just
I like
literally eat
gummy
marshmallows.
worms, like those sweet and sour, those sour, super sour gummy worms.
Yeah.
But they don't ever give those out for Halloween. I
Yeah.
don't know why. So this is
hoarding them for
for our
themselves.
future podcast sponsor,
Yes.
gummy worms.
Give out Charleston shoes, gummy worms,
Sour Patch Kids.
Scores bars, hoagies.
And Snickers.
We should get Jersey
I
Mike's to
really
sponsor.
love
We should get Jersey
Snickers.
Mike's to sponsor this. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, listeners, we're probably going to have to extend this offline so that we won't bore you to death with our Halloween chat. Everybody have a safe and happy. I'm not going to say merry because that's another holiday when people say that, but have a nice Halloween. Spook yourselves to death. No, I'm just kidding. Be crazy. No, don't do that. I'm just full of great advice that I'm taking back.
Sweet screams, obviously.
Hashtag sweet screams, and you'll find paralysis. Or hopefully you won't be paralyzed. With Levi. Levi, a public congratulations on the awards that you've been picking up for Paralysis, and wish you a very safe trip in Sydney, Australia. Woo!
Yes, thank you. I'm so
Yes.
excited.
My audio waves just went nuts because I was clapping. So everybody happy. I wish there was like a Halloween song. There's nothing.
There's not
Like
really.
the Monster Mash.
Yeah.
That's about
I
it.
always feel like somebody's watching me.
Oh, yeah.
There's that one.
This is Thriller.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's
Good
the
songs.
perfect one right there. Or Rocky Horror Show.
Yeah, which I'm going to this week.
They used to have one. I got dragged. Okay, so I got dragged into a Rocky Horror Show when I was a teenager here in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not know what I was getting into. Did not.
What a treat for you.
It
Yeah.
was the total. I mean, like people dressed up. My friend, I did not know, was all into it. You guys know I'm really bad with lyrics. Well, everybody knew all the lyrics to all the songs, and then they were pitching in the lines in between, and they were screaming, "Don't go in the room, don't open the door," and all these things. And there were people that were acting dressed up, the actors that were playing the parts as they were playing the movie in the background. It was awesome. And the theater was a mess because people were just throwing candy and stuff everywhere. I swear everybody was like drunk. It was so much fun. So anyway, so listeners, if you get a chance to go to the Rocky Horror Show, Levi, congratulations that you get to go to one too. And happy Halloween. Say happy Halloween, guys.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween,
everybody. Enjoy.